I started writing You Never Waste the Pain simply because as I was traveling around the country, a lot of people would ask me to put my testimony down on paper or in a book because they had a friend that had gone through something similar, and they had had a friend that maybe had multiple sclerosis or gone through a very painful time in their life, and they said, I wish she could have been here, I wish my friend could have been here because I would love for them to have read, to have heard what you had to say. So as I was writing it, I began to kind of think, well, the most important thing I can remember about growing up is the fact that I grew up in the small town of Russellville, Alabama, and how I was the only child of Ellis and Denis Davis, and how we all kind of grew up together. But it was also the reason I talk so much about my hometown is because when I got in really bad trouble, a lot of the strength I had came from the faith that I had growing up here in this town and going to First Baptist Church of Russellville, Alabama. And as I talk to people across the country, I talk about my upbringing and how growing up in that small town gave me such strength. My mother, being a piano and voice teacher, made me always interested in music because my house was always filled with music, and my dad loved country music and all this kind of stuff, so it was always playing, always going on. And I knew I hit that fat ugly stage in junior high and stayed there for a long time, and would watch the Miss America pageant every year with my parents and sit in front of the TV and cry and cry and cry when the girl would get crowned, and think that's never going to be something that I'll ever enjoy in my life. But as I got older, I decided I wanted to sing. Well, I had a lady that walked up to me, Janice Walker, who was the head of the Miss Alabama pageant. And she said, honey, if you'll lose 20 pounds and get rid of your stringy hair and blue eyeshadow, you could be a Miss Alabama. Well, out of stubbornness, I took her on to that challenge, and my mother and I went down to Birmingham, Alabama, unbeknownst to any of my friends and family, and I trained like an athlete. In 2 weeks out of high school, became Miss Alabama. And after that, went to the Miss America pageant with Burt Parks, and Phyllis George was there, and grew up really fast. And the best part of that was it paid for my college, for one thing, and secondly, I was chosen to go on the Miss America USO tour, which was one of the most valuable experiences of my life. I came back a totally different person because after seeing what our soldiers went through and what they go through, I learned to be a person who loves America. Came back and thought, I think I want to move on to something bigger. Not necessarily better, but just bigger. So my choice was Nashville, Tennessee, and I've lived there ever since. I'm married to my husband, Doug Arnold, and we have a wonderful life there. In 1989, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and out of that, I went blind a couple times. But one thing this disease has taught me is that the most important thing in my life is my faith. And without that, I'm not going to make it anyway. You never waste the pain. That came about because a very successful songwriter in Nashville, where I live now, had diabetes. And I say had because he finally died from it. And he was blind, and I had been blinded twice by the MS, and he and I were talking one day, and I said, well, John, if we give God the pain, he never wastes it. He never wastes the pain. And he said, Denise, promise me if you ever write a book, you'll call it He Never Wastes the Pain. And so I did that.
There are faces from my past that are dearest to my heart, who have touched my life and helped me see the truth. They were angels sent from God, faithful ones full of His love. Words cannot express my gratitude, and I don't know if I'd be standing here today or have eternal hope had they not shown me the way. I'll be eternally grateful, eternally grateful for the everlasting life that I've received. I'll be eternally grateful, eternally There are lives that we can touch by showing who we are. Wayward sinners who were saved by Jesus' hand. They can have abundant life and a peace that fills their souls. All the many blessings heaven's planned. So let's build a raging fire within this church. And as the precious word of Christ is heard